Hey Bales, my name is Simon. Welcome to an overview of one of my GameMaker engines. This one is a refined version of my simple platformer engine. Simple in that way that it works with rectangular masks. It will not use precise masks, but as long as everything is rectangular, everything is fine. An addition from the last version is that we have these extended blocks which will react on the player on collision. You can of course set some stats in these, some flags how they should react on the player, and then there's these moving platforms which are children of these responsive blocks. Also you can change the gravity direction, but only to reverse, so it will only check if you are either on the flip side of the vertical gravity or on the normal side here. So that's the things you can expect from this engine. It will be great for making games like Mario and stuff like that, where the physics are simple and where you just need some great stuff like that. If you are expecting slope walking and stuff like that, I would suggest you use my advanced GameMaker engine instead. Since that will allow these kind of things. Also it will allow a 360 degrees gravity direction, so you can make a little more interesting games. But this is our simple platformer, and this will be an overview of how to use it, not how it works, so I will not go in depth with the code. However, there are commented code in the example, and you can easily, if you are curious, look into that code. Of course, if you find this video helpful, you're welcome to rate it. What you need for it to work is a set of scripts, which you of course can use outside of the objects in question, and then we need these objects down here, these parent objects. Meaning that to use this you simply set either use these objects as is, or you set make an object and set these as the parent, and then they will inherit the code, thus getting the physics as made in this engine. And of course there's some variables you can access in these objects. If we start with par entity, this is our default physics object in our engine. It will allow to have physics in your instances, and to use it you simply make sure that you press that you inherit this code, meaning if you are using the inst event in your object, then you should use the event inherit function, or if you are using drag and drop, there is a call event here which you need to put in. This will make sure you inherit the code. If you're not using the instep function, it will automatically inherit it, and you do not have to think about this. Likewise, you need to do the same for the create event, inherit the code, and there is some variables you can then set or override if you want. For example, there's the gravity, which will be default set to 1, but you can also set it to more or less. As I said before, you can revert the gravity in this one without problems. You cannot set a gravity direction per se, however. There is the horizontal friction, which is by default set to 1, and there's the vertical friction, which is set to 0. Then we have the horizontal speed, h speed, and we have the vertical speed, v speed. Of course, we also have health, and these things doesn't really do anything in my engine. So if you do not need health, then you can just leave them out and don't use them. Other than that, you might want to access the in-air variable as you are programming your, for example, player or monster or whatever needs the gravity and physics. It will change to true or false depending on if you are currently in the air or grounded. In-air is true. Grounded is false. Likewise, you might want to use these multipliers, gmult for gravity, hfmult for horizontal friction, and vfmult for vertical friction. These will reset every step, so if you set it to 2, then for one step your gravity or whatever you set will be multiplied by that factor, and then they will reset to 1 after that, so you do not have to think about that. Likewise, you can set an impulse for your horizontal speed. If you set the horizontal speed to, for example, 4 and you have no friction, then it will be 4 permanently. If you set the horizontal speed impulse to 4, it will be added for 1 step to your horizontal speed, and then it will be removed again afterwards, and then you need to set a new impulse if you want that. So that's some nice stuff you can use to make a more dynamic instance. As an example, we have our object player. If we do like this and use the end-step event here to make sure that this doesn't override the other code, we need to put in our event inherited function, and then we should be good to go. To set our speed, we simply change our h-speed variable, and to jump, we use the in-air variable to check if we are in air, and if we are not in air, then we set our vertical speed. We also check our G and G multiplier, both here and here, to make sure to check which direction is currently down, because I've added this key which changes our gravity or negates our gravity when used. Our next important instance is our parse solid. Our parse solid does not have any code, but whatever instance or whatever object you create and set this as your parent will be treated as solid by the entities. And this one will also be treated as solid by the entities, but it is also a child of par entity, meaning it has the same code. It inherits the par entity code. It has physics. So this is solids with physics. And as you can see, it makes sure to inherit the code. Then it makes some overrides. These blocks, as per default, do not have any gravity, and they have no friction at all. And also they treat other entities as solid, so they will not try to overlap other entities. Also, it has its own flags you can set. You can set the rigidness of it, which is a little reversed here. The higher the number, the less rigid it is, meaning that if it's 0, then it will not move at all when touched by a player. If it is set to 1, it will move with an equal speed that the player hits it with, and if it's 2, twice that speed, and so on. So it will simply lerp the values as they come in. Then we have the fixation, which is how eager it is to go back to its original position, set to 0.1 as a standard. If we set it to 1, it will snap directly back. If we set it to 0, it will not move back at all, so you can set it to 0 if you want to make moving blocks or something. Like you can push pushable blocks and stuff like that. Then we have fix x and fix y, which is our true position of our solid, which is the position it will try to move back to. So when we come to the moving platform in a moment, if you want to create a moving platform, then you need to move these positions, fix x and fix y. That's the fixation points. Then we have the add weight here, which is a multiplier for whenever an instance is standing on it, an entity is standing on top of this solid here, it will be weighted down a little bit depending on the entity's gravity. And this will multiply the gravity. So if we have our entity, our player, which has a gravity of 1, it will be multiplied by 8, so it will be 8, and then it will weigh the block 8 pixels down. If there's 2 players on top of it, it will weigh down 16 pixels, and so on. And then we have drag here, which is when you are hitting if we have the solid here, and you're jumping here, landing here, and you have some horizontal momentum, then it will move it a little horizontally as well. If you set this to 0, it will not do that. If you set it to 1, it will move with your full horizontal momentum. I set it to 0.2 as a standard, because then it will move it a little bit, giving a sense of friction. Likewise, if you're jumping into it from the side, then you will also move it a little up, or if you're going down, you will move it a little down as you go. So that's what that one does. And that's what you can set inside this one. You can of course set it multiple places if you have in the room, if you want this one to be a little different from the others. You can go and set things in the creation code, so we can set, for example, rigid to 1, and then it will be affected more by the player than the other solids will. as you can see here, if we jump on these, they will be weighted a little down. If we jump on this, it will be weighted a little more down. So yeah, that's how that will work. Lastly, we have in the extra goods thing here our moving platform. You do not need this for the other things to work, but you do need the other things for this one to work, which is why I have put it in the extra goods. It's just so you don't have to program the platforms yourself. These do have the same variables because they inherit once more. I have set the standard to be a little different, just so they act a little different than the other blocks. You can just change this if you want to. And then to move these moving platforms, I have created these fix H speed and fix V speed, vertical speed. Sorry for my half burp there. So these are the ones you will set if you want to set a speed for these, and you can set these here in the room creation object creation code. So here we set it to the horizontal speed to 2, and here we set our vertical speed to 2. And of course you can also make the move diagonal because of if you set both the horizontal speed and the vertical speed. And that's pretty much how everything works here. As you can see, it's a pretty stable build here, where you can change the things as you want them, and yeah, you are free to use it. You can download it on my Gumroad, as the link has been there in the beginning as well. And I'm doing some makeovers of my advanced engine as well. There's some trouble right now, so will be some time before it's out, maybe a couple of days or something like that. And also I'm going to Transmediale festival in a couple of days as well, so we'll see when it's out. But there'll be some updates to that as well. Also adding these rigid blocks, or these non-rigid blocks, I guess it is, and moving platforms and stuff like that. So it should be pretty much the same, just with slopes and all gravity directions available. I do post a lot of GIFs and stuff like that as I progress through the things. So if you want to follow these things, you can follow one of my social networks. And if you want to know when new videos come out, when I make an overview video of the advanced one, for example, if I choose to do that, then you can subscribe to the channel. But it's all for now. I've been Simon, and yeah, bye.